called you weak. They laughed when you struggled. They whispered behind your back, saying you'd never make it. Every time you tried to rise, they shoved you back down. Every time you reached for something greater, they reminded you of your failures. But tell me, how many times can a person be beaten before they stop feeling the pain? How many times can a soul be shattered before it becomes unbreakable? You've been broken, humiliated, left behind. They thought they buried you. They thought they won. But what if I told you this was never your burial? It was your rebirth. The world loves to create its own villains. They push, they wound, they strip everything away. And then they act surprised when what emerges from the fire is no longer the person they once knew. They wanted a monster. Then let them have what they asked for. Because you're not the same. The old version of you, gone. That person who begged for acceptance, who waited for permission to exist, who crumbled under the weight of rejection, dead. And what stands in their place? Something stronger, something darker, something relentless. So let me ask you again. How many times can a person be beaten before they stop feeling the pain? The answer: one more time than they can be broken. This is where your story begins. They don't see you. They never did. You were the outsider. The one they ignored, overlooked, discarded like you didn't matter. Every door you knocked on was slammed in your face. Every hand you reached for pulled away. You weren't enough for them. Never smart enough, strong enough, good enough. And for a while, you believed them. You sat in the silence of their rejection, drowning in the echoes of words that told you you'd never be more than a shadow. Every time you tried to stand, someone reminded you why you should stay on your knees. Every time you found the courage to fight, they handed you another failure, another scar, another reason to quit. But tell me, what happens when a person is denied so many times that they stop asking for permission? What happens when rejection no longer breaks them, but builds them? Because that's where you are now. See, rejection has a way of forging something dangerous. It strips away the illusion, burns away the weakness, and leaves behind nothing but raw, unshakable power. You know what it feels like to be forgotten, to be discarded, to be treated like you don't exist. And that's exactly why they should be afraid of what you've become. You don't need their approval anymore. You don't need their validation. They had their chance to stand with you, and they chose to turn away. Now, they'll have no choice but to watch as you rise without them. You are no longer waiting. You are taking. They pushed you to the edge, thinking you'd fall. But they forgot something. The person who has nothing left to lose is the most dangerous force in existence. This is not where your story ends. This is where it begins. Since the day you were born, they told you who you were supposed to be. Be quiet. Be polite. Stay in line. Fit in. They handed you a mold and expected you to fit inside it. Small, controlled, predictable. They decided what you could dream, how far you could reach, and when you should stop trying. But what happens when the mold cracks? What happens when the person they try to shape into something ordinary refuses to stay that way? You weren't born to fit inside their lines. You weren't meant to live by their rules. Every expectation they placed on you was a chain. And with every rejection, every failure, every moment of pain, those chains have started to break. But let me ask you, do you feel that? That fire inside you, the one they tried to extinguish, it's still burning. That voice inside your head, the one they tried to silence, it's getting louder. That version of you they tried to erase, it's coming back stronger. Because you were never meant to be small. You were never meant to live a life that made them comfortable. They built walls around you, thinking they could keep you contained. But now those walls are crumbling, and for the first time they're seeing the truth. You don't belong in a cage. You never did. And now, you're done playing by their rules. You are not here to be what they expect. You are here to become what they never saw coming. And nothing will stop you. There comes a moment when everything changes. When the weight of every scar, every betrayal, every failure stops holding you down and starts fueling you instead. This is that moment. For too long they made you believe your pain was a weakness. That every time you fell, it was proof you weren't strong enough. That every wound you carried was a reason to stop fighting. But they never understood. Pain doesn't break people like you. It builds them. Fire doesn't fear the flames. Steel doesn't shatter under pressure. And you are no longer afraid. Look at what you've survived. Look at everything they threw at you. The heartbreak, the humiliation, the nights when you swore you had nothing left. You felt that darkness creeping in, whispering that you should just give up. But you didn't. You're still here. That means something. Because only those who endure the fire can rise from the ashes. Only those who have known true struggle can wield true power. And right now, in this moment, you are standing at the edge of something greater than yourself. The world wanted you to stay broken, but they made a mistake. They didn't see what was forming beneath the surface. They didn't see the warrior waking up inside you. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them stand in your way. Because the moment you embrace the force inside you, the moment you stop holding back, is the moment you become unstoppable. And that moment, it starts now. Look at yourself, not the version they forced you to be. Not the reflection shaped by doubt, fear, or rejection. Look deeper, because beneath the scars, beneath the pain, beneath every battle you thought you lost, there is something unbreakable. For years, they tried to tell you who you were. They pointed at your mistakes, your failures, your struggles, and made you believe that's all you were. That your worth was measured by your worst moments. But let me ask you, who gets to define you? Them? The people who turned their backs when you needed them most? The ones who doubted you, laughed at you, dismissed you like you didn't matter? Number not anymore. You are not your scars. You are not your past. You are not the names they called you, the failures they threw in your face, or the limits they placed on your back. You are what you choose to be. And right now, staring at that reflection, you have a choice. You can keep believing the lies they told you, or you can decide that you are something else entirely. Something stronger, something fiercer, something they will never control again. Because the moment you own who you are, the moment you stop seeking their approval and start living for yourself, everything changes. So tell me, who do you see now? Because I don't see someone broken. I don't see someone weak. I see someone ready. The world has no idea what's coming next. Enough. Enough waiting. Enough hoping. Enough standing on the sidelines, watching your life slip through your fingers. This is the moment. For too long, you've let them write your story. You've let their words sink into your skin. Let their doubts poison your mind. Let their expectations build the cage around you. But listen to me. You were never meant to live in chains. You feel it, don't you? That shift, that fire in your chest, that voice in your head growing louder, telling you it's time. Time to stop waiting for someone to save you. Time to stop asking for permission to be great. Time to stop living as if you are anything less than unstoppable. They wanted you to break. They wanted you to surrender. They wanted you to believe you weren't enough. But now they're about to see what happens when you refuse to fall. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You don't need their acceptance. The only thing you need, the only thing you have ever needed, is already inside you. It's been there since the beginning. So make the choice, right here, right now. Let go of the past. Let go of the doubt. Let go of anything that tells you you're not capable of rising. Because from this moment forward, you are the one in control. And nothing will ever hold you back again. You feel it now, don't you? That spark, that heat rising in your chest. That silent roar in your soul that refuses to be ignored. This is power, your power. For years they tried to drown it. They fed you doubt. They whispered lies. They made you question your own strength until you started believing them. But here's what they didn't understand. You were never weak. You were only waiting. Waiting for the moment when the weight of every failure, every betrayal, every scar would stop being a burden and start being fuel. And that moment is now. Because you don't rise in spite of the pain. You rise because of it. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every time you were knocked down and left for dead, it was all leading to this. You didn't break. You didn't fold. You adapted. You sharpened. You became something they can't define. Something they can't predict. Something they will never control again. This fire inside you, it's not something they can put out. It's not something that fades. It's the very thing that will push you forward when everything else tells you to stop. And the best part, you're just getting started. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them stand in your way. Because you don't need their permission to rise. You don't need their approval to take what's yours. And when they finally realize what you've become, it'll be too late. They thought they had you figured out. They saw the struggle. They saw the setbacks. They saw you at your lowest and assumed that's where you'd stay. But they made one mistake. They forgot that you don't stay down. Every time they doubted you, every time they pushed you aside, Every time they tried to bury you beneath their expectations, they were building something unstoppable. And now it's time to rise. Not as the person they once knew. Not as the version of you that begged for acceptance or feared rejection. But as something greater. Because strength isn't just about power. It's about endurance. It's about resilience. It's about standing back up again and again until there is nothing left that can break you. They wanted to see you fail. They wanted to see you give up. But what they're about to witness, a force they never saw coming. Because you don't just rise, you rise above. Above their expectations, above their judgments, above the version of yourself that once thought this was impossible. Look around. This isn't the same battlefield anymore. Because you own it now. This is it. No more looking back. No more questioning who you are. No more apologizing for the fire inside you. This is your moment to own it. Because you didn't come this far just to rise. You came to dominate, to take control, to become the force they never saw coming. You are not the person they once knew. You are not their puppet. You are not their victim. You are not a shadow of your past. You are reborn. Every scar, it's proof of survival. Every battle, a lesson that sharpened you. Every moment of doubt, a stepping stone to the unshakable force you are now. So let the world watch. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how the person they once underestimated became unstoppable. But don't explain yourself. Don't justify your growth. Don't shrink to make them comfortable. Own who you've become. Because the second you do, they will never control you again. This is the moment that defines everything. No more hesitation. No more second guessing. No more waiting for a sign. It's here. And now, you have a choice to make. You can turn back. Go back to the comfort of the familiar. Back to the version of yourself that played it safe, that stayed quiet, that feared what could happen if you stepped beyond the lines they drew for you. Or you can step forward into the unknown, into the fire, into the life you were meant to live, the life that demands your courage, your hunger, your refusal to stay small. But understand this. Once you choose to rise, there is no turning back. Once you decide that you are more than their labels, more than their doubts, more than their expectations, you become unstoppable. So ask yourself, who do you want to be? The person who let fear win, or the one who shattered every limit placed upon them? The choice is yours. But know this, only one path leads to the legend you were meant to become. Enough waiting, enough thinking, enough hoping that someday, somehow, things will change. That day is now. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you power. No one is going to give you permission to be great. You take it. You rise, you fight, you push forward when every voice, inside and out, tells you to stop. Because this is your story, your destiny, your war to win. So stand up, own your strength, let them doubt you, let them whisper, let them believe you won't make it. Then show them what happens when a fire refuses to burn out. No more playing small. No more waiting for the right time. No more asking if you're ready. You are ready. You always were. And now the world will finally see it. If this lit a fire inside you, subscribe now, because this is just the beginning.